Good morning, students. Let's get started. Last week, we were talking about transport in humans when we talked about blood vessels and blood. This week, we'll be talking about transport in plants. So, plants we know are living organisms just like the human and the animal kingdom, and they require certain substances in order to stay alive. So how do the plants get what they need in order for healthy growth? Well, we know plants need minerals, they need water, they need sunlight, they need oxygen for respiration. And of course, they need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So the question remains, where do plants get these nutrients? Can't move, we know that. So where do they get these nutrients and these materials they need in order for growth? Well, they get it from their environment. So plants are adapted to live in environments that provide them with these 5 key ingredients that they need for healthy growth and development. So plants need minerals, water, sunlight, oxygen for respiration, and carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So we ask the question, how do plants transport materials to where they are needed? Now, as we mentioned earlier, we know plants need minerals and water. Can anybody tell me where is the source of minerals and water for the plant? Where is the source? I need somebody to give me an answer. When I ask where's the source, right, where does it come from? Where does the water and minerals that the plant so desperately need for proper growth and development come from? I have a few answers in, and you are correct. I don't want to go ahead and say the correct answer just yet. I want to see how many people are thinking this morning. Luban, I need a more specific answer than that. Our topic today is transport in plants for those of you just joining us. And the question I asked was, where do plants get their water and minerals from? What is their source for water and minerals? Very good, Luban. That's more specific. Okay, so you're right. All of you who took the time to answer, the correct answer is the soil. So the soil is the source for water and minerals for plants. Now on your screen, you see a little cartoon, but this cartoon is very interesting because it tells you exactly what goes where and what is not allowed to enter in certain places. And we're going to revisit this diagram as we go on. But I want you to take note, these little blue droplets right here, they represent water, okay? And here we have some other structures labeled with a P, here we have K, here we have an N. And who can tell me what they represent? What does the N represent on this little blue guy? What does the P represent on this little purple guy? And what does the K represent on this little orange looking guy? Okay, so the P, okay, let's start over. The N represents what? Okay, quite a few have answered properly. The N represents nitrogen, very good. And the P represents, very good, Ashton. Very good, Deontay. Yes, the P represents phosphorus. Now it doesn't, I see quite a few of you have put in, right, you're now answering what the K represents. What does the K represent? Potassium. Very good. NPK. NPK are 3 key nutrients that the plant needs for proper growth and development. And these nutrients, they get from the soil in the form of minerals. Very good. And our little blue droplets, of course, represent, what do these little blue droplets represent? Water. Very good. So as you can see from our little cartoon, very good, water. We see, and what does these little odd-looking fellas? Anybody can tell me what these little odd-looking fellas supposed to represent, keeping in mind we're talking about the plant? Good, Destiny. Very good, Ashton, right? They represent a part of the root known as the root hair cells. And this is the site where water and minerals are actually able to enter the structure of the plant. So if we look at our diagram, and I know it's very cartoonish, it tells us a lot of very important information. I need you guys to hold 1 second for me and continue to study the diagram. I have to get my charger. So I'm back. So as we continue to examine our diagram, we see that our root hair cells are responsible for taking up the nutrients as well as the water, and they are responsible, or they're the vector or the means by which water and minerals are able to enter the plant. Now to our right on our diagram, we have these little white cubes. Anybody can take a good guess what you think those white cubes represent? Good. Very good. Good. I see a lot of sugar. I see a lot of glucose. So yes, they represent the stored sugars for the plant. So they are as a result of photosynthesis, that's the sugar or the glucose that was made by the plant, and it's now going to be converted and stored in different parts of the plant. One very interesting fact about this diagram, if you look above the door where the sugar molecules are entering, it says no minerals and no water. Okay? No minerals and no water allowed. So you have the inward movement, you have the outward movement of these sugar molecules, but when we look at our diagram of our water and our nutrients, they're all going in one direction. So this is very important. So as we go on, very good, we're going to see what this all means. So this is a very basic structure of a plant. We know very basic, every plant, green plant that is, has leaves. Then we have our stems, and of course we have our roots. The leaves are primarily the exit and entry point for gases that are needed by the plant. So this is where gases will actually enter the plant or leave the plant through the leaves. When we look at the stem has a pretty basic function in that it connects the roots to the leaves, flowers, and fruit. It's basically the main highway, basically, when we start to look at transport. They contain the special cells that are adapted for transportation of the water and mineral and sugar molecules that we looked at earlier in our illustration. And finally, the roots, basic structure, basic function is to absorb water and minerals from the soil, okay? So we have our leaves, we have our stems, and we have our roots, the three basic parts of the plant. So very quickly, this is a very quick and easy activity. The roots is responsible for absorbing water and minerals from the soil. So that matches up with our root. The leaf is the entry point and exit point of gases. And finally, our stems connect the upper and lower parts of the plant. And our stems are very important, especially when we start to talk about transport, how the substances we looked at earlier are able to move around the plant. Now, I'm going to be quite honest with you, students. There's still a lot that we do not know about the plant. We do not know exactly how plants are able to make sugars, store sugars, convert sugars into complex starches. We don't know everything about plants. There's still a lot that we have to learn about plants. So a lot of things that we talk about when we talk about plants is theorized. So now we're going to get into transport. Which cells are responsible for transport of nutrients? Now, basically, when we talk about transport, just like when we talked about it in humans, we talk about a vascular system. Now, the vascular system will comprise of your veins, arteries, and capillaries in the human body. However, in the plant, the vascular system or vascular bundle comprises of two basic cell types. We have the xylem cells, and then we have the phloem cells. Now, the xylem cells are those cell types that are responsible for primarily transport of water and minerals. And one thing I want you to take note of, the arrow in the xylem cells are going in one direction. It's unidirectional, one direction flow. So when we talk about water being transported in a plant, it is being absorbed from the soil through the roots. It's going to move up through the stems and into the branches and into the leaves, and it will eventually leave the plant as water vapor. So there's a one flow direction when we talk about water. However, when we talk about the phloem cells that transport sugars, remember now the sugars are produced in the leaves because this is the site of photosynthesis. However, once the food of the plant has been made, the food is stored elsewhere. So we have bidirectional flow of substances in the phloem cell. So our xylem cells transport water and minerals up the stem from the roots to the shoots and leaves. This transport occurs in only one direction. However, when we look at our phloem cells, transport of sugars produced in the leaves up and down the stem to growing and storage tissues. As you can recall, you have some plants that store their sugars in their roots, some that stores it in their shoot, and other parts of the plant. So that accounts for the bidirectional flow of substances in the phloem and the unidirectional flow of water and minerals in the xylem. So when we look at these two types of cells or tissues, together we refer to them as our vascular bundle. So our vascular bundle can be compared to our arteries, veins, and capillaries in the human body, in that they are responsible for transport, and specifically transport of essential substances as well as waste products for the plant. So when we look at our vascular bundles, and we refer to our very, very simple diagram of the plant, our phloem and xylem tissue is continuous, and it starts from the root and extends through the stems and the leaves of the plant. Actually, if you were to examine the leaf of a dicotyledonous plant or a monocotyledonous plant, or monocot or dicot, you would see veins or branching veins, and veins is a part of this vascular bundle, okay? So the vascular bundle, or those branching veins in the leaf of a monocot or a dicot, is actually a part of this vascular bundle. So how a plant, let's we start. How are plant stems adapted for transport? So in the stems, you have specialized cells that form this tissue. And we have two types of tissue. We have the xylem tissue and we have the phloem tissue. So in our stem, we have our xylem and our phloem. These tissues are arranged around the stem in a vascular bundle. So this would be our vascular bundle, and our vascular bundle consists of our xylem tissue as well as our phloem tissue. So here, these blue dots represent our xylem tissue, and these little smaller orange colored dots represent our phloem tissue. So our xylem tissue runs in a column through the plant stem as well as our phloem tissue, okay? So we see that the xylem and the phloem are in close proximity to each other. So the xylem transports water and minerals in only one direction. So we have a unidirectional flow. However, when we look at our phloem tissue, another thing I want to make note of, xylem cells are actually dead cells. So they form this continuous hollow tube structure. So there's no obstruction, there's no passing through cell membranes. It's a continuous hollow tube. So this allows for the easy flow of water in the stem. Xylem cells are also called xylem vessels, okay? So let's take note. The xylem is responsible for the transport of water and minerals in the plant, and this transport is only in one direction. The xylem cells are dead cells, so they form a continuous hollow tube. Xylem cells are also called xylem vessels. See this word vessel as in blood vessels? So this is the vascular tissue of the plant. When we look at our phloem cells, we see that the flow is in two directions, so it's a bidirectional flow. And we have the transport of sugar going in either direction or in both directions, up and down. These cells, however, unlike the xylem cells, these are actually living cells. And they're also known or called sieve tubes. And that is because where one cell ends and another cell begins, there are these hollow or these holes in the cell wall that allows for easy flow in between all of these cells, okay? So when we look at our xylem bundle or our xylem vessel, it's continuous, it's just a long hollow tube. But if we look at our phloem vessels, they're made up of living cells, and at the end of each living cell, you have these basic little like holes, so a sieve that allows the movement or the easy transport of sugars into and out of the continuous column of cells, of living cells. So these two systems working together ensure the continuous flow of water and minerals in the plant, as well as the movement of sugars to all other parts of the plant for storage. So all of this system works together to keep the plant healthy and enables it to grow. So the minerals that they get from the soil plays a key role in growth and development. We know that the water is needed for various functions in the cell or in the cells of the plant, so the plant itself can function properly. And the sugars are needed as a source of food for the plant. I always tell my students, when plants make food, they're not making it for you. They're making it for itself. So when a plant stores its food, it's not for the consumption of an animal or some other living thing. It's actually for its own benefit, its own survival, its own source of energy. So when plants store food, it's for their own sources of energy, not for the predator that's going to eat it. So what are vascular bundles? In our leaves, like I mentioned earlier, when we talk about the veins in the leaf of a plant, those are actually the vascular tissue. That's the vascular bundle. And that is how water and minerals get to the leaves of the plant. So the xylem and phloem form networks of veins in the leaf. So depending on the type of plant you will have a main vein, and then you'll have branching veins coming off of the main vein. And all of those are part of this vascular bundle that supply water, minerals, and sugar for the plant. So when we look at the root, the xylem vessels form a cross shape in the center of the root. So here we have this very, very distinct and pretty large vascular system where we have our xylem. Remember, this is where we have the most absorption of water into the plant. So here we have a very, very prominent xylem tissue in the root. And we do still have some phloem tissue in the root as well. As we talked about earlier, some plants actually store their sugars in their roots. So anybody can name me a plant that stores its sugar in its root? What type of plant? Who can name me a plant? And you eat them, right? Very good, Clinton. Anyone else? Clinton says potato. Very good. Ashton says carrot as well as Clinton. Anybody else? Any other food that is a root? Cassava, very good. Radish, good. All of these are root foods for us. But this is actually where the plant is storing its sugar, okay? And we go ahead and we eat them. Onion, very good. So yes, so here we have our storage of sugars in the root. So when we look at our shoot, we see again, we have a vascular bundle with our xylem and phloem that group together, and they grow and they go up the whole length of the stem. And of course, this is where we started when we looked at it in our leaf, where we have the veins in the leaf actually represent our vascular bundle. So now we're going to look at how our vascular bundles are adapted for transport. As we mentioned earlier, our water and minerals travel in our xylem vessels. And one fact that you should know about xylem vessels, I want somebody to tell me, one interesting fact about xylem vessels that makes it allows it to carry out its function because of its specialized form. Its structure allows it to carry out its function. So what about the structure of the xylem vessel allows it to effectively carry out its function of transport? Can anybody tell me? We already talked about it earlier. What about the xylem vessel allows it to carry out its function? I'm getting some answers, but they're not exactly what I'm looking for. It's a continuous tube, very good. It's a hollow tube. It is not alive, very good. All of these facts about the xylem vessel allows the xylem vessel to carry out its function effectively. So xylem vessels don't have thin walls, they have thick cellular cell walls, okay? And this cellular cell wall is strengthened by a material called lignin. And the inside of the cells are hollow. So the hollowness allows no obstruction to the flow of water and minerals. And of course, they're dead cells. So all of these things together allow the xylem vessels to be very effective at transporting water in one direction throughout the plant. So xylem vessels have thick cellulose cell walls that are strengthened by a substance called lignin. The inside of the cell is hollow. The xylem vessels are dead. Xylem vessels transport water and minerals from the roots to the shoot and the leaves. And this transport occurs in only one direction. So the thick walls of the xylem cells also help support the plant. So the xylem vessels actually help in giving the plant some structural support because of the lignin, okay? So all of these features together allow the xylem vessel to be able to carry out its function, transport of water and minerals very effectively. Now when we look at how the phloem vessel is adapted to transport. Now phloem is made up of columns of living cells, and they transport food in the form of sugars. Sugars are carried from the leaves, because that is the site of photosynthesis, to the growing parts of the plant for storage, okay? This movement takes place in both directions. And we talked about this already, because when we look at different types of plants, they tend to store their sugars in different places. Some store it in the leaves, some store it in the stems, and some store it in the roots, as we mentioned earlier. Phloem cells are also called sieve tubes, and they're called sieve tubes because they have the perforations or holes in them that allow for the easy transport of sugars. The cells are joined in a continuous fashion, and where one cell ends, another cell begins, you have these sieve holes or these perforations that allow for the transport of sugars in both directions. So cells are joined by small holes in the cell wall at the end of each cell, forming a continuous system. The end cell walls are called sieve plates, okay? So the sieve plates, they have little perforations or holes that allow for the easy inward and outward movement of sugars. So which cells do these statements relate to? Now, not all of them are in the correct order. So let's go through it. Contains sieve plate. Does it belong to the phloem or does it belong to the xylem? What does this descriptor, which one of these does it belong to? Okay, very good. The majority of you are saying phloem. We're going to see if we're all right come the end. Living cells. Which one of these are classified as living cells? Are the xylem living cells or are the phloem tissue living cells? Okay, the majority of you again are responding phloem. So I'm going to put it in the phloem column. Dead hollow cells. Dead hollow cells. Okay, quite a bit of you are responding xylem, so let's place this in the xylem column, and we'll see where we stand at the end. One directional transport. One directional transport. Very good. The majority of you are responding xylem, so we'll go with that. Transport sugars. Which one of these vessels transports sugars? Okay, I see quite a bit of you are going with phloem, so we're going to place this in the phloem column. Transport minerals. Transport minerals. Okay, I see quite a bit of you are going with the xylem, so we'll place them in the xylem column. Two directional transport. Now, which one of these tissue is responsible for two directional or bidirectional transport? Okay, quite a bit of you are going with the phloem, so we're going to go that. Transport water. Very good. The majority of you are going with xylem. So let's solve. So we're now saying that the xylem is made up of dead hollow cells. We have one directional transport taking place in the xylem, and it is primarily responsible for the transport of minerals and water. Thumbs up if you all agree with what we just said about the xylem. Give me a thumbs up if you agree. Can you even give me a thumbs up? I don't know. Okay, all right, Aaliyah, Alex, you agree? Anybody else? Thumbs up, good. Let's look at what we posted under the phloem. We said the phloem contains stiff plates. They are living cells. They transport sugar, and they have two directional transport. So you are correct in all of your answers. Xylem is responsible for the transport of water and minerals. The flow in the xylem is in one direction, and that direction will be from the root through the stem, up the shoot, out to the leaves. Okay, very good. And the cells that make up the xylem tissue are all dead cells. One other thing I want to point out is the xylem tissue is supported by lignin, which also helps to give the plant some structural support. Then we look at the phloem. The phloem is responsible for the transport of sugars. We have the flow of substances going in both directions, so that's up and down the stem and in and out of the leaves and the roots. Then we have living cells. The phloem tissue is made up of living cells, and at the end of this continuous column of living cells, we have these sieve plates that connect cell to cell and allows for the transport or the easy flow of sugars into and out of these cells. Good job, everyone. Very good. So we're done actually for today. That is all I wanted to talk about today when we talk about transport in plants and vascular bundles. So we're going to finish up early today. On Wednesday, however, we're going to continue this discussion, and we're going to look specifically how a plant is adapted to uptake of water and minerals from the soil, as well as we're going to look at one or two theories surrounding how plants move about sugar or
decided to come out for a walk to enjoy our natural resources. Do you know what natural resources are? Well, let me give you some clues. These are things that are found right in your environment. God has given us these things. They were always here. They are all around me. These are things we value, things that are very important to us. You think you get the answer yet? Well, let me tell you more. People use some of these things to stay alive. And then again, we use some of these things to make our lives better. Boys and girls, you think you know what it is? Well, come with me as we learn more about natural resources in today's lesson. What are natural resources? Remember, boys and girls, we said that natural resources are things we get from the environment. They were always here. These are things that are useful to people, and God has given us these things. Now let's see if you got the answer. Earth's natural resources includes air, water, sunlight, plants, animals, soil, rocks, minerals, and so much more. How many of them did you get? Excellent! Good job! Boys and girls, would you say that natural resources are important? Absolutely they are. Remember, these are things we all share and things we all value. Air, water, and sunlight are all natural resources we need to live. Soil, plants, and animals are also natural resources we need. Rocks and minerals are natural resources we use to make our lives better. Boys and girls, do you know the difference between a rock and a mineral? A rock is a hard, non-living thing that comes from the earth. Rocks come in many sizes, shapes, and colors. Some rocks are marbles and sandstone. A mineral is one kind of non-living thing that is found in nature also. Minerals are usually found in rocks. That means we get minerals from rocks. Copper, iron, and diamonds are examples of minerals. How do we use natural resources? Boys and girls, do you know how we use natural resources? We eat many plants like fruits and vegetables. We also use plants to make different items such as threads, medicine, paper, tires, and then we use wood to make furniture. We use animals for pets. Dogs, cats, hamsters, and fish are some examples of animals we use for pets. We also use animals for food. We get eggs from chicken, milk from cows. We get meat from other animals such as sheep, goats, and pigs. Uses of air. Plants and animals need air to live. We fill balloons and tires with air. Air is used to move things like airplanes and sailboats. Birds fly because there is air. Soil. Plants need soil in order for them to grow. Plants also need sunlight in order for them to grow. The sunlight gives us light during the day, and it also warms the earth. Boys and girls, I know you know the uses of water. We use water every day when we drink water, washing our hands when we wash our hands, brushing your teeth. We take showers, we cook using water, and we water our plants. How do we use rocks? Well, bricks are made from rocks. And what do we do with bricks? We build houses. Is your house made of rocks? Yes, most of our homes are made from rocks. Uses of minerals. Well, minerals are used to make beautiful jewelry. And who loves to wear beautiful jewelry? I know I do. And I'm sure your mummies, they do. How do we destroy our natural resources? Boys and girls, we depend on natural resources to live and to make our lives better. But sometimes the action of human can destroy our natural resources. Do you know what these actions are? Yes, you remembered. The P word, pollution. Pollution means when we make our environment unhealthy or dirty. So we can make our land dirty, and we can make our atmosphere dirty. And atmosphere means the air that we breathe. Also, cutting down trees. You remember this, right? Pollution and cutting down our trees or forests is not good for our natural resources. When we do these things, plants and animals are losing their habitats. Or, remember, the habitat means home. And some animals are becoming endangered because of these actions. Do you know what the word endangered means? Well, in the Bahamas, we have endangered species. Endangered means when living things are close to being extinct. That means there's no more. Pretty soon we'll have none of them living. So boys and girls, we want our animals and we want our plants to live forever and ever. So we have to do our part to take good care of our natural resources. Now, let's look at some endangered species that are found in the Bahamas. The Bahamian rock iguana. This is a large lizard. So we have to protect our iguanas so they would go on living forever and ever. Another endangered animal is the hutia. And then there is the loggerhead turtle. And last but not least is the Bahama duck. We depend on our natural resources to live, boys and girls. So it's important for us to take good care of them and to use them wisely. What can we do to preserve our natural resources? Now, the word preserve means to save or protect something from loss or harm. So, boys and girls, what can we do? Okay, we know that as far as possible, we shouldn't cut down our forest. And also, we should not pollute. Boys and girls, let's play a game. It's called Name the Natural Resources. So I'm going to give you clues and you're going to tell me what those resources are, natural resources are. So here's the first one. People use me as pet or for protection. Do you think you get the answer? Know what natural resource I'm talking about? Let's see. We are talking about animals. And this is Ivory. Ivory is my pet. I use her as a pet. Okay? We are not going to use her for food. It's not good. So she's a pet. Very good. So let's do another one. This is something what plants need in order to grow, and you will find it on the ground. Get that? Let's see. Come, see if you got it. Correct. It is soil. Very good, boys and girls. So here's another. This is something that gives light during the day. It is also something that warms up the earth and something plants need in order to grow. Do you know what that is? Excellent. It is sunlight. Now, yes, you can see the sun. It's not a very sunny day, but I think you can see some of the sun. So let's do another one. This is something that is hard. It is a non-living thing, and it is used to build houses. Do you know that answer? Let's see if you get it. Very good. Come. It is rocks. Very good. And the last one, boys and girls. This is something we need. It is something we get food from. We can also use it as decorations, and we can also use it to make houses or furniture. Think you got the answer? Let's go. Very good.